Greetings and welcome to another special broadcast covering the GC session of this year 2022. Yesterday I shared with you the stand that the General Conference has made during the 666 GC session, the stand that Elder Wilson has made to shut down Seventh-day Adventists, who, keep in mind, among many others, have been marginalized, have lost their job, has gotten paralyzed, sick, and even some of them have died as a result of the pestilence, poison, the sorcery of Babylon. Just a little bit of background. One of the delegates by the name of Jonathan wanted to bring to the floor the issue of Babylonian sorcery, the stand that the General Conference has made, and even some of our hospitals, if not all, and even some of our churches that have been enforcing the Babylonian mandates and sorceries, whereas, which means that you have no choice in the matter but to comply, but to violate your conscience. That delegate by the name of Jonathan wanted that motion to come to the floor for a vote. But in spite of the fact that he was not the only one, keep in mind he was one of the delegates, he was not the only one who wanted that motion to be put on the floor, but there were other Adventists online and on site that also wanted that motion to go through for a vote in order for the General Conference to change his stand on this issue and to stand up for religious freedom, for religious liberty, in order to worship God according to the dictate of our conscience. But, brothers and sisters, in part 2 of this, we're going to find out that Elder Wilson now has taken the position very similar to the Jesuits. Be quiet. In other words, he was telling Seventh Adventists, I am in charge, in spite of the fact that the delegates have yielded after the persistency of Seventh-day Adventists online, and Jonathan, one of the delegates, Ted Wilson came up to the podium and said, no, we will not vote on this, usurping his authority over the majority, over Seventh-day Adventists, concerned, struggling Seventh-day Adventists. And then they're going to accuse me of hating the church. They're going to call me the conspiracy theory, when blatantly Elder Wilson just exercised the spirit of the dragon, the spirit of Jesuitism. Notice on the screen with me, this is from Adventist Review, June 8th, 2022. How election work at a General Conference session. The election process at the General Conference GC session can be shrouded in, listen to the word, mystery for a lot of people watching from afar. During the course of the session, more than 100 positions are filled. As the new officers are presented each day, many people wonder, how in the world were they chosen? There's a shadowy cabal make decisions in the background. I would say the answer is yes. Is the election a foregone conclusion? Not at all. This article, by the way, was written by Sean Bunzra. He said, not at all. If you've participated in filling positions at your local church, you likely already know how the process works. That was a bunch of lies by Sean Bunzra. No, brothers and sisters. Indeed, the cabal, the Jesuits, are the one choosing and reselecting officers for us, like Ted Wilson and Ganun Diak, as we've covered before. Indeed, this is what has been transpiring to the point where, as I'm about to play the clip for you, you're going to hear the spirit of the dragons coming from the General Conference and Ted Wilson for daring for some Seventh Adventists to dare to bring to the floor the motion to retract, to apologize, to follow the old paths by retracting their position when it comes to the Babylonian sorceries. Indeed, brothers and sisters, we have more to fear from within than from without. Notice this other article here, again from Adventist Review. Headline, motion to add, listen now, Babylon, sorcery, poison to the agenda. What's the next word? Defeated. How was it defeated? What happened? Let's read. Delegate Jonathan Zirkle, in the center of your screen, presented a motion to amend. The pestilence has caused a lot of problems for our church, Jonathan says, and has caused a lot of problems for our members. Citing a document signed by thousands of Adventist church members, pastors, and health professionals, Jonathan made a request for the church to reconsider its stance on the Babylonian sorcery, the poison of Rome, Revelation 18:23. I think, he says, it is very important we have a discussion on this. After the motion was seconded and a couple of members spoke on behalf of the motion, GC President Ted N.C. Wilson went to the microphone to make comment. Brothers and sisters, we're going to unpack this one more time. Notice what it says here. The last sentence. After the motion was seconded, keep that in mind. The motion was finally seconded, and a couple of members of Seventh Adventists spoke on behalf of the motion, meaning backing what Jonathan has said, to bring this position of the General Conference to the floor and to reject it. GC President Ted Wilson went to the microphone to comment. Now, brothers and sisters, what did Elder Wilson say about those two Adventists, and among others, including as well, let's add, I should say, Jonathan, one of the delegates, to bring this issue? Remember, Jonathan, the delegate here, his point is that he was advocating for Seventh-day Adventist members. That because of the position of the General Conference in regard to the Babylonian sorceries. I even had, brothers and sisters, one person, one Seventh Adventist from Australia recently reached out to me to write a letter of exemption for them. And they told me that they are about, the person says, he was about to lose his job. Guess why? Because he refused to take the Babylonian poison, but that's not the real reason. When he tried to tell his boss about his religious conviction that he is a Seventh Adventist, guess what they told him? They said, well, your church position on the poison is they are in favor of it, so therefore you must take it. And that's why he reached out to me to help him with that. My brothers and my sisters, I'm very sad to inform you that because of the position of the General Conference in favor of the poison, he lost his job. That was in the context that Jonathan was appealing to the General Conference to bring this matter to the floor for a vote. And one more time, to reconsider. But as we read a moment ago from the Adventist Review headline, motion to add Babylon, sorcery, poison to the agenda defeated. And the question again I'm going to ask, how was it defeated? How did it happen? Well, brothers and sisters, let's go into this. We're going to play some clips for you and pay attention now. Because again, we are going to find out, we are going to see clearly that the Jesuits are ruling over Seventh-day Adventists. Now, I'm going to play the clip for you, and Jonathan is going to explain.
COVID has caused a lot of problems in our church, and it's caused a lot of problems for our members. I would like to propose that we discuss the position that the church has taken on the vaccines, specifically related to the statements of 2015 and 2021. Because of these positions that the church has taken, many people have suffered. I have a document that was signed by 25,000 Seventh-day Adventists in 138 countries, by 1,929 pastors, and by 4,164 medical professionals. And they are asking that we reconsider our stance on vaccination.
In other words, what Jonathan, the delegate there, was trying to express, it was on behalf of Seventh-day Adventists. Now, as leaders of the flock, if you truly care for the flock, then you will listen to the voice, to the innocent of Seventh-day Adventists that have lost their jobs. You would listen and you would consider at least allow it to come to the floor for a vote. Now, here is another reason. Remember, as we play for you from the beginning, the intro of the General Conference session 2022 is about unity. And Jonathan is going to bring that point across. For the sake of the unity of the body of Christ, let us come together, Jonathan says. Let us allow this motion to come to the floor for a vote. Listen now.
And I would move that this be added to the agenda. I think it is extremely important for bringing our church together through this time. This has been a very divisive situation. It's been a situation where many people have lost their jobs, their livelihood. Some people have lost their homes. People have lost their custody battles. And a lot of it is due to the fact that they're not able to assert their sincerely religious held beliefs because of the position of the church. Now, I don't know what the right solution is, but I trust that this body can come to that solution. And I think it's very important that we have a discussion of this.
Isn't that reasonable? Because this is something that concerns every Seventh-day Adventist for the past 2 years as a result of the pandemic. We have been seeing oppression against religious freedom. We have been seeing tyranny, totalitarianism. And Jonathan was advocating for religious freedom. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Sister White talks about this so many times. We have, as Sister White says, we have been looking many years for a Sunday law to be enacted in our land. And now that the movement is right upon us, we ask, will our people do their duty in the matter? Shall we not assist in lifting the trumpet and calling to the front those who have a concern for the religious right and privileges? We were told to stand for religious freedom as Jesus stood for religious freedom, as the disciples stood for religious freedom, as The reformers, and especially Martin Luther, stood for religious freedom. Here I stand, I can do no other. That was the position of Jonathan there, again, on behalf of Seventh-day Adventists. And as again, the theme is unity to bring about true unity. That's what he wanted to see, to bring about true unity. Well, listen to the response now of the General Conference to shut down Jonathan and also to shut down Seventh-day Adventists, other members that wanted this issue to come to the floor for a vote. Listen carefully now.
Thank you, Brother Jonathan. We really appreciate your concern. But really, the General Conference in session deals with items of Constitution and bylaws, of items that concern our church manual or our fundamental beliefs, such items that are coming to this level. But the issue of vaccination, we know it is a very divisive issue, and actually the document that was proposed by the administration committee has given a full right for everyone to follow their own conscience. So there was no push in one or the other direction. And so we would really plead with you, because we have a shortened session, that we don't load our agenda with items that really don't belong there. So, but we really appreciate your concern.
What is the excuse there? We tell people to follow their own conscience. What a blatant lie, brothers and sisters. The leaders within the GC, they know that the power that be is not giving anybody the opportunity to, quote unquote, follow their own conscience. Even our hospitals are not giving you the option to follow your own conscience. People have been forced to take the poison under penalty of not being able to buy and to sell. And another point, what is that Babylonian sorcery doing to people? Listen carefully now from the Gateway Pundit, June 8th, 2022. Healthy young people are dying suddenly and unexpectedly from mysterious syndrome in Australia. Doctors baffle and seek answers. Australia is famous for its totalitarian pestilence restrictions and Babylon sorcery poison mandates. The deputy premier of NSW boldly declared that even businesses that accept unpoisoned people will be subject to exceptionally heavy fines back in 2021. Now, the country is confronting an epidemic of sudden adult death syndrome. The syndrome is striking down healthy and active young people in Australia. And as I mentioned before, I have a friend in Australia. He just lost his job there. Why? Because his boss looked at the position of the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists and said, your church endorsed the poison, so you must take it or lose your job. And now the General Conference is saying, well, we did not mandate it. We tell people to follow their conscience. No, you tell people to bow to Babylon. I'm telling you one more time, as you could see on the thumbnail of this video, Seventh-day Adventists have been buried, the members I'm referring to, by Ted Wilson and the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Oh, brothers and sisters. And then I'm going to be blamed as the one who does not like the church. That's what they've been saying. Listen again. They're going to continue this, going after Jonathan, the delegate, and Seventh-day Adventist, I should say. Listen now to what they said next.
I've represented many people in religious liberty matters, and that statement has been very detrimental. And I would ask that you ask for a second. I would ask for a second.
So there is no second. Thank you very much for helping me, because
I know that there are people that are online in Canada that are wishing to make a second at this time.
thank you very much, dear brother. We have heard you. We have not heard a second, and we will move on. Thank you.
I would like to make an appeal of this decision.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, we will, since there are no more objections, we will accept the agenda and move on.
So they refuse to second the motion, even though we heard Jonathan said that there are Adventists online in Canada. Remember, in the Zoom, they were allowed to also second it, but they refused to listen to those who were online seconding the motion. They refused. They shut down those Seventh-day Adventists. But again, when we are being convicted, and if we keep speaking out, can the enemy really muzzle us? Can the enemy really muzzle Seventh-day Adventists? Well, they try to do this. The enemy, keep in mind, will not be able to shut down the message for this time. They will try, but they will not prevail. What we are experiencing within Seventh-day Adventists right now is what Isaiah 59 describes. Let's begin in verse 14. Isaiah 59:14. And judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. Equity, that's uprightness there, cannot enter. There's no more uprightness. There's no more equity within the General Conference of Seventh Adventists. Truth will never prevail there. No, brothers and sisters. Remember, the Bible says it's a remnant. A remnant. I'll talk about this coming Sabbath. It's a remnant that's going to make it. This organization will fall. It's bound to fall. Verse 15 says, Yea, truth faileth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. And the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment. There's no judgment. The leaders are not standing for the poor in spirit. The leaders are not standing for those Adventists that have lost their jobs. The leaders do not care about Seventh-day Adventists. They only care about the policies of Rome. Listen to the next one here.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me? My name is Grace McIntosh, and there was a request for either in the session or online for a second to Jonathan Zirkle's motion, and I second.
Sorry, we have a motion on the floor that we are now discussing. We are discussing of accepting in the sisterhood of our churches a number of unions. So this is now the motion that is in front of us. Thank you very much.
It took a while to get to
All
the
right.
right place to
Are you
be able to
ready
get
to
the
accept
way.
those unions?
Muzzling Seventh-day Adventists, common members of Seventh-day Adventists. We have better things to discuss, other agendas to discuss. So we don't want to go back to this again. Persistency, brothers and sisters, in these last days. Persistency. God will prevail. The truth of God indeed will prevail. Let's continue listening to this.
I see on Zoom 101, Tobacco Mission. Yes, please.
My issue concerns the same issue before. The internet challenges has caused the delay in responding to these issues. and I've seconded the motion as well. So it's a challenge. So I'm not sure if you're going to go back to it so we can look at it, because we have a situation where we have been voting by common consensus, and an issue was raised regarding the agenda, and the agenda passed based on common consensus. But an issue was raised, which I think it's important that the church be the one to determine if it is a fundamental issue or a fundamental belief. I think it's important that the church decides that. So it has been raised, and I think there are many on the floor who would second it, and I would like the chair to be fair enough, because I feel as if I'm experiencing a coup attempt, and I don't like that feeling in my church. I think the church has a place for the voice of the laity, and the laity is expressing a position that needs to be listened to. The demands of the internet and all that, we understand, and we're trying to adapt around it. We're trying to adjust around it. I am not in
Sorry,
St. Louis
dear
right
brother,
now.
sorry, I have to stop you because we are discussing now the motion on the table is to accept unions into the sisterhood of our fellowship. So this is the motion, and we are now speaking directly only to this motion.
So another SBA who was online also seconded the motion to come to the floor, but they also shut him down. No, we don't want to talk about that. We have more important things to do. Meanwhile, Seventh-day Adventists, many of them are struggling to put food on their table because of the pestilence crisis, because they have lost their job, and now because of the inflation that is going up. Gasoline prices in at least one place in the US is almost $10 per gallon. They don't care about that. No, we don't care about this issue. We care about whom we're gonna put here, this position there, more Jesuits here and there. Oh, brothers and sisters, and many Seventh Adventists cannot see that Ted Wilson was planted there by the Jesuit, was reselected by the Jesuit to continue to deceive Seventh-day Adventists. But again, persistency. Now, because a few Seventh Adventists online and Jonathan the Delegate persisted to bring the motion to the floor, listen to what happened next.
Okay, you have 2 minutes, please.
I understand that I'm unmuted, and it is a hybrid session, and you did ask for a second, and I did text right away that I would like to second. I just didn't get to the right chat room in time, and I would like to second Jonathan Zirkle's motion. We've had great difficulty in Canada as well because of the way the statements have been worded, because of the way our law is being applied.
All right, since this time we have quite a challenge to get immediately all the responses from the Zoom. We will provide you a chance and see if the body wishes to come back to this issue or not. Then we will accept your second as a second.
All right, now, because a few Adventists were pressuring the issue, so now the board there, the GC board there, said, okay, all right, since now there is a second, we're going to try to bring it to the floor for a vote. Well, not before it was overruled by Ted Wilson. Listen carefully now.
All right, thank you very much. We will ask now Elder Wilson for a comment.
My dear delegates and friends on site and online, in reference to the issue that has been brought up by a delegate regarding vaccinations, since it has been seconded, it is fair enough for us to vote on that. But I want to strongly urge, and I have the consent and agreement of my fellow officer, Ayrton Kohler, my other fellow officer, Paul Douglas, that we stand united in asking this body not to put that issue on the agenda, not to put that issue on the agenda.
What does this remind you of, brothers and sisters? What have we been experiencing for the past 2 years? Dictatorship, totalitarianism. He said, we want you to be united. Remember, we played this clip for you last week where Klaus Schwab said to his elite bodies that the future belongs to us. We are in power. That's very similar to what Ted Wilson just said there. He says we must be united. United in what? United in what? Can we really be united with Ted Wilson in this counterfeit, in this apostasy, promoting Babylonian sorceries? What kind of unity should we be seeking right now? Is it unity with Christ or unity with the papacy or with the apostasy? Keep in mind 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 again, verse 2 says, there shall come a falling away first, apostasy, and then the men of sin be revealed. That means they work together. Listen to what Spirit of Prophecy says here. Volume 4, Spirit of Prophecy, page 46. If unity could be secured only by the compromise of truth and righteousness, then let there be difference. And what else? And even war. Well would it be for the church and the world if the principles that actuated those steadfast souls were revived in the hearts of God's professed people. There is an alarming indifference in regard to the doctrines which are the pillars of the Christian faith. The opinion is gaining ground that after all, these are not of vital importance. Isn't that what Ted Wilson and the delegates have said? This issue is not that important to bring it to the floor. We have better things to discuss, while many Seventh-day Adventists are struggling right now because of the same issue that they said, as Spirit of Prophecy says, these are not of vital importance. The degeneracy is strengthening the hands of the agents of Satan, so that false theories and fatal delusions, which the faithful in ages past imperiled their lives to resist and expose, are now regarded with favor by thousands who claim to be followers of Jesus Christ. Yes, they have embraced the Babylonian sorceries in favor of the Babylonian sorceries. So he's talking about unity. Unity in what, brothers and sisters? Unity in what? And yet Seventh-day Adventists cannot see that Ted Wilson indeed is working for the Jesuit. Listen to what else he went on to say.
For the reasons that have already been enunciated by our chair, first of all, it is not a constitution and bylaws item. Secondly, it is not a church manual item. Thirdly, it is not a fundamental belief item. Now, there may be individuals who will disagree with me and others, saying it is my fundamental right to be able to make a choice as to whether or not I wish to receive the vaccination, a vaccination, some vaccination, or not. And the General Conference has very much stood on the position that everyone should make their own decision. The General Conference has made a statement in regards to vaccinations.
Again, he is promoting the same lie. Make your own decision according to your conscience. One more time, were those people given the opportunity to make their own decision? That whether they wanted to take the poison or not? And now, as a result, what's happening to many? They are falling, dying like flies. Yet the General Conference keep telling you, well, we never said that we will mandate it. It was just a guideline. Yet, the government did not give you a choice in the matter. Again, brothers and sisters, then, as I mentioned, in spite of the fact that, according to the GC rules, if the motion has been seconded, you have to allow it to get on the floor. But Ted Wilson came up to influence the delegates and say, no, let's vote no by not having this motion to come to the floor for a vote. He acted just like the Jesuit, just like Fauci and many others. Listen now.
But the General Conference has not mandated that people take the vaccine. It has given people a choice. So rather than for us to become embroiled in something which is not an agenda item for a General Conference, it is an administrative item. It has been dealt with. Some people don't like the way it has been dealt with, and that is their right. But rather than for us to become embroiled in something that is not an item for a General Conference session discussion, we respectfully, kindly, and very much in a determined manner ask that you, the delegates, vote no on placing this item as an agenda item.
Oh, brothers and sisters, our spirit of prophecy tells us that we have indeed more to fear from within than from without. Here it is. We read from Selected Messages, Volume 1, page 122. We have far more to fear from within than from without. The hindrances to strength and success are far greater from the church itself than from the world. How often have the professed advocates of the truth proved the greatest obstacle to its advancement? The unbelief indulge, the doubts express, the darkness cherish, encourage the presence of what? Evil angels, and open the way for the accomplishment of Satan's devices. It is the same spirit that was manifested against Jesus Christ by Phariseeism that we are seeing today. They try to overrule the consciences of men, putting themselves above the commandments of God. Jesus says they taught the commandments of men above the commandments of God. And read Matthew chapter 23, what Jesus had to say about that. When Jesus saw the same spirit, brothers and sisters, in Phariseeism, he says, behold, your house has been left unto you desolate. Yes, brothers and sisters, that's what Jesus says. And in AD 70, the house indeed experienced that desolation. So therefore, as Jesus went on to say in Matthew chapter 24, when ye shall see the abomination of desolation standing where it ought not, it's time to flee. My brothers and my sisters, one of the application of that is the position of the General Conference here is clear for us to see that it's time to get out of it, because destruction is coming. I did not say get out of the church. Many are saying that I'm speaking against the church when the General Conference is not the church. I'm talking about the Jesuits within the General Conference. Get out of it, because they do not care about you. As the Bible says again, back to Isaiah chapter 59, verse 15. Yea, truth faileth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. And the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment. And listen, and he saw, that's the Lord, saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm, Jesus' arm, brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness, it sustained him. In other words, brothers and sisters, there's no justice within the General Conference. They are not defending the poor, the fatherless, the persecuted. Jesus is the only one that can bring salvation. That is the attitude again of the 144,000. They follow the Lamb, whithersoever he takes them. That should be our attitude in these last days, brothers and sisters. Remember, it was the church that turned Jesus over to the Romans. It's the same thing that Ted Wilson is doing right now, turning us to the Jesuits. May God, brothers and sisters, keep us, because indeed we can see that soon and very soon, because of the stand of a few of us, because we say, by God's grace, we will not bow to the Babylonian sorceries, because many today are trying to stand against and speak out. They are being fired, marginalized, persecuted, censored, banned, not by the world now, but by the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Their position is to promote the Jesuit agenda. Again, we must follow the Lamb. Only the Lamb can bring salvation unto us. And by God's grace, we will continue to cover this apostasy, the 666 GC session, as God gives me breath. May God richly bless you.